there was once a master who owned a very, very vast training ground. It had a temple on it, and also just loads of open space. So, of course, the temple in itself was quite small and didn't take up much space. So, because of the surroundings, lots of people wanted to buy the land off the master, or actually just come in and set up loads of other schools there, because why not? Makes business sense, doesn't it? To expand and make the most of space, fill in the empty space. So one day, a businessman did come in and said to the master, "Here's the deal. I give you a lot of money, and we build a business together. We've got all this space. Think of what you could do with it. We can have a training center here, blah, blah, blah." The master said no. The businessman said, "Why not?" "Because you could make all this money." So the master said, "Because this openness is what allows me to grow. This openness is what inspires me. This vastness, this emptiness, allows me to expand." So obviously to the businessman, this made absolutely no sense at all. So he said, "Why are you passing up this opportunity? Are you mad?" So the master said, "No, I need this space because I've already told you why, because it allows me to appreciate the vastness of nature, the expanse, the nothingness, which is actually an intensity, and I want to preserve that." So obviously this made no sense at all to the businessman. So why keep all this open space? Well, because according to certain traditions, particularly in the East, it can be beneficial to have a vast expanse of land to contemplate, to have in front of you, because there's a certain subtlety to the environment. There's a certain wonder to be looked at, and this is what can allow people to transcend themselves and not just think about their own kind of amusements and stimulations from outside. It draws them inwards. So, if, for example, you're out in the open and there's no noise from your surroundings because it's quite natural, animals will behave completely differently. There won't be dogs yapping and cars driving by and all this sort of thing. Nature will act completely differently. You won't get the same noise. You won't get the same external reverberations hitting your centers, body centers, or the energy channels as they call them in Tai Chi. So with that, it permits a certain appreciation of depth within because of this vast expanse. Whereas if things are all closed in and compressed from the surroundings, then that creates a different state within if it's experienced too long. Now, of course, it is whether you side with the businessman or the master, there's two different qualities. But if certain traditions kept their systems from advancing too much and becoming too lacking in that freedom and too commercialized perhaps, and too, I wouldn't say commercialized, but too business orientated, too space filling, then they do lose that dimension of expansion. So for example, if the cup is completely full, then nothing can come into it. Similarly, if people are full of have absorbed the noise from around them, then they're unlikely to be able to listen within. So say you've got, I'm sitting here now, there's one voice coming into this microphone. If there's another one coming in, and we're having a discussion from over this side, we'll all need to come through this central electrical system and come out again into what you're hearing. Now, if there's too much interference, there'll just be noise and it won't be able to be appreciated. Now, that's one way of experiencing noise. The other way is to have reverberations come in from certain receivers, microphones. From there, there's an electrical stimulation along a line. So there's a change of quality from sound to electricity. Sound, of course, is just a reverberation, a vibration against a solid. Now, there's all sorts of vibrations that we don't hear at the level of the ear going on within, which are disturbed by too much going on around us, too much buildings springing up, too much noise, structures and interruptions. So if the master didn't want to, in this story, expand, it wasn't through stupidity, it was through wanting to preserve that dimension rather than to fill it. So as in martial arts, in practice, there's a certain amount of space that needs to be maintained in order to grow, in order to experience things, in order for waves to be carried, in order for things to travel. There's such a thing as noise pollution, which is beginning to be noticed as a threat, and these things aren't often considered as much as they should be. So again, when certain busyness in the environment impacts upon the space that inspires and which allows you to transcend yourself by viewing by appreciating the vastness and beauty of nature, then that can become a problem. However, when that space is maintained and the source of your inspiration is then allowed to exist, then there's a certain experience there that can be preserved rather than filled.